this defense outlay is not very significant, keeping in mind the sort of challenges which Indian Army is poised or faced with in context of a reorganized, recalibrated People's Liberation Army?
Yeah, absolutely, Karthikeya. And it in fact keeps in with what we were discussing earlier, the fact that the defense budget has not seen any spectacular increase over the last couple of years, despite the fact that there is a lot of pressure on the borders. You have for the first time China at your doorstep, eyeballing you for a third year in a row. That troop mobilization is on, and despite that, the government seems to have resisted the urge for any massive increase in defense budget. However, if you look at it from last year's defense budget, the budget that Nirmala Sitharaman presented in 2022, the defense budget seems to have gone up substantially, over 12%. But then with the revised estimates coming in, the spend wouldn't be more than 6%. And the additional hike in the defense budget has gone towards the revenue part of the budget to meet the pension expenditure. There's a huge payout that the government has made of over 20,000 crore in defense pensions. This is on account of the one rank, one pension scheme. That is accounted for a major share of the defense budget this year. And the other major head, of course, is the capital expenditure, where we've seen a hike of over 10,000 crore under the capital expenditure. This again fits with the trend over the last couple of years that capital expenditure has been going up steadily, even as the government is committed to increasing the pension payouts in the revenue head.
Sandeep, you know, in my previous program, you mentioned that the biggest security measure which the government can take is to have a double-digit growth. But if you look at the anatomy of budgets post-Gulf War I, post-Gulf War II, Afghanistan, major conflicts when it comes to developed countries, or for example what's happening in Europe, it leads to increase in defense budget. Now we not only have ended up with a unified front when it comes to China, our challenges have increased. You have a fledgling blue ocean navy of China, and in that context this materialization of resource for acquisition is not there.
Well, yeah, Karthikeya, to answer your question very quickly, what the government has been doing is to kind of change over the orientation of the budget more from an import-oriented budget to one that is encouraging defense private sector within the country, public and private sector. They want to create a military industrial complex within the country, and the reasons for that are very clear. That when you start importing defense hardware, you're at the mercy of foreign suppliers who may or may not supply you in the time of a crisis. And also the fact is that you are kind of exporting jobs, in a manner of speaking, to a foreign country. Jobs in the high-tech technology sector are being exported abroad. You're subsidizing research, defense R&D in foreign countries at the cost of your own capabilities. So now I think the government, as we discussed earlier, since 2020 has been talking of Atmanirbhar Bharat, focusing its energies towards creating this indigenous defense industrial complex. So a lot of that money is going to come back into the Indian defense ecosystem, and that's the aim largely with this increase in capex, and a large percentage of that capital expenditure is being reserved for the indigenous defense sector.
But if you look at the internal security, the police modernization has received a lot of attention from Nirmala Sitharaman. You know, there's a surge of budget allocation for the police modernization, 25.56%.
Right, and Karthikeya, to answer that question is again, now defense has a problem of manpower, right? It's very manpower intensive, and over the years the pensions and the salaries have accounted for over 50% of the spending. And
what should be the good ratio?
A perfect ratio would be 40-60, 40 in favor of manpower and pensions and 60% for modernization. And now the police forces, the central armed police forces that come under the Home Ministry, for which that budget allocation has gone up, is facing a similar problem. You have one of the world's largest paramilitary forces, almost the size of the Indian Army, right, in the under the Home Ministry. And now because they've expanded so significantly, they're not having the kind of resources to pay for modernization, which accounts for that spike in the modernization plan.
So you're saying that this primarily facilitates the central paramilitary forces?
That's correct. All the central paramilitary forces like the BSF, the Assam Rifles, the CRPF which are tasked with maintaining internal security come under the Home Ministry.
Can we say that this budget, fifth budget of Nirmala Sitharaman, adequately answers or adequately addresses the financial issues of the defense community?
So, absolutely, it does, and it's based. If I would break it down very succinctly, I would say that this is a budget that's focused on China and on defense pensions. China, for which they've boosted the allocations to the Border Roads Organization, which is making a lot of strategic infrastructure projects in Ladakh and in Arunachal Pradesh in keeping with the threat from China, and of course defense pensions, because you've committed to increasing defense budget, defense pensions year after year as per the one rank, one pension.
Sandeep, are we to see the 3 centers which the center has promised to open up for artificial intelligence as part of our security architecture?
But that would be an overall overarching thing to cater for artificial intelligence in the civil sector, and a lot of that spin-off would come into the defense sector as well. So you're talking of a civil-military fusion, and artificial intelligence is one such area, like robotics, artificial intelligence. They can have a spillover into the defense sector as well. But they've done very well, if you ask me about this artificial intelligence thing, that much-needed boost for AI.
Because I'm asking this question because our National Security Advisor, Doval, is in America, and we were the one who in 90s and 80s, Indians were getting the bad side of the Department of the State, American Department of the State, and we were the one who were being picked up by them, and you know, the penalties levied on us, you know, we had to undergo a discriminatory regime, and today we are collaborating with them on technology and artificial intelligence, which was being denied to us.
Well, absolutely. The entire Silicon Valley thing has been built on the backs of Indian talent and Indian software engineers, and now I think a lot of that India is trying to see how we can leverage that to create our own military industrial complex, and of course in cutting edge areas which the Prime Minister has spoken of repeatedly in the past, like artificial intelligence, robotics, one of them, cryptology, cloud computing. All of these things are all areas where the military can benefit from advances in the civilian space as well.
Do you think that this the monies which are being allocated to the defense is good enough for the defense modernization? They have separate enclosure for the modernization of the police forces, and then it goes on to give them 26.56% hike. Do you think that something like this should be done for the Indian Defence Forces? This is your budget and this is for the modernization part.
Well, if you're asking about that separate fund that they've been talking about for the last couple of years, well, there is a logic which says that you need to have a separate fund, a non-lapsable fund for defense R&D.
This is lapsable fund.
This is a lapsable fund. So that, numerous committees have recommended that. The Parliamentary Standing Committee has recommended a non-lapsable fund, but the government has overruled that in its wisdom to say that this is not good because it's A, it's bad accounting, and B, it kind of overrules the Parliament, and the Parliament is supposed to have the final say on these kind of matters.
Why did the committees disapprove of it?
The government disapproved of it, saying that it's bad accounting practice to create non-lapsable funds.
I'll just stop you short. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is speaking. Let's cut across to him.
एक महत्वाकांक्षी योजना का भी ऐलान हुआ है। इससे खेती के साथ साथ दूध और मछली उत्पादन के क्षेत्र का विस्तार होगा। किसानों, पशुपालकों और मछुआरों को अपने उत्पाद की बेहतर कीमत मिलेगी। साथियों, अब हमें डिजिटल पेमेंट्स की सफलता को एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर में दोहराना है। इसलिए इस बजट में हम डिजिटल एग्रीकल्चर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की एक बहुत बड़ी योजना लेकर आए हैं। आज दुनिया इंटरनेशनल मिलेट ईयर मना रही है। भारत में मिलेट्स के अनेक प्रकार हैं, अनेक नाम हैं। आज जब मिलेट्स घर घर में पहुंच रहा है, पूरी दुनिया में पॉपुलर हो रहा है, तो उसका सर्वाधिक लाभ भारत के छोटे किसानों के नसीब में है, और इसलिए आवश्यक है कि नए तरीके से उसको आगे ले जाया जाए। इसकी एक नई पहचान, विशेष पहचान आवश्यक है। इसलिए अब इस सुपर फूड को श्री अन्न की नई पहचान दी गई है। उसके प्रोत्साहन के लिए भी अनेकविध योजनाएं बनाई गई हैं। श्री अन्न को दी गई प्राथमिकता से देश के छोटे किसानों, हमारे आदिवासी भाई बहन जो किसानी करते हैं, उनको आर्थिक संबल मिलेगा और देशवासियों को एक स्वस्थ जीवन मिलेगा। साथियों, ये बजट सस्टेनेबल फ्यूचर के लिए ग्रीन ग्रोथ, ग्रीन इकोनॉमी, ग्रीन एनर्जी, ग्रीन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और ग्रीन जॉब्स को एक अभूतपूर्व विस्तार देगा। बजट में हमने टेक्नोलॉजी और न्यू इकोनॉमी पर बहुत अधिक बल दिया है। एस्पिरेशनल भारत आज रोड, रेल, मेट्रो, पोर्ट, वाटरवेज, हर क्षेत्र में आधुनिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर चाहता है। नेक्स्ट जनरेशन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर चाहिए। 2014 की तुलना में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में निवेश पर 400% से ज्यादा की वृद्धि की गई है। इस बार इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर 10 लाख करोड़ रुपए का अभूतपूर्व इन्वेस्टमेंट भारत के विकास को नई ऊर्जा और तेज गति देगा। ये निवेश युवाओं के लिए रोजगार के नए अवसर पैदा करेगा, एक बहुत बड़ी आबादी को आय के नए अवसर उपलब्ध कराएगा। इस बजट में ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस के साथ साथ हमारे उद्योगों के लिए क्रेडिट सपोर्ट और रिफॉर्म्स के अभियान को आगे बढ़ाया गया है। एमएसएमई के लिए 2 लाख करोड़ रुपए के अतिरिक्त ऋण की गारंटी की व्यवस्था की गई है। अब प्रिजम्पटिव टैक्स की लिमिट बढ़ने से एमएसएमई को ग्रो करने में मदद मिलेगी। बड़ी कंपनियां द्वारा एमएसएमई को समय पर पेमेंट मिले, इसके लिए नई व्यवस्था बनाई गई है। साथियों, बहुत तेजी से बदलते भारत में मध्यम वर्ग, विकास हो या व्यवस्था हो, साहस हो या संकल्प लेने का सामर्थ्य हो, जीवन के हर क्षेत्र में आज भारत का मध्यम वर्ग एक प्रमुख धारा बना हुआ है। समृद्ध और विकसित भारत के सपनों को पूरा करने के लिए मध्यम वर्ग एक बहुत बड़ी ताकत है। जैसे भारत की युवा शक्ति ये भारत का विशेष सामर्थ्य है, वैसे ही बढ़ता हुआ भारत का मध्यम वर्ग भी एक बहुत बड़ी शक्ति है। मध्यम वर्ग को सशक्त बनाने के लिए हमारी सरकार ने बीते वर्षों में अनेकों निर्णय लिए और ईज ऑफ लिविंग को सुनिश्चित किया है। हमने टैक्स रेट को कम किया है, साथ ही प्रोसेस को सिंप्लीफाई, ट्रांसपेरेंट और फास्ट किया है। हमेशा मध्यम वर्ग के साथ खड़ी रहने वाली हमारी सरकार ने मध्यम वर्ग को टैक्स में बड़ी राहत दी है। इस सर्वस्पर्शी और विकसित भारत के निर्माण को गति देने वाले बजट के लिए मैं फिर एक बार निर्मला जी और उनकी पूरी टीम को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं और देशवासियों को भी बहुत बधाई के साथ साथ मैं आह्वान करता हूं, आइए अब नया बजट आपके सामने है, नए संकल्पों को लेकर के चल पड़े। 2047 में समृद्ध भारत, समर्थ भारत, हर प्रकार से संपन्न भारत हम बना के रहेंगे। आइए इस यात्रा को हम आगे बढ़ाएं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।